Well, thank you for having me on this morning, and we're still, obviously the investigation is ongoing, and similar to physical crime scenes, when we have a crime like this, we also have a digital crime scene to investigate and comb through the evidence that could help us learn more details about the online relationship and possibly any intentions the suspect may have had.
Do you have any idea where they met online? Was it on an app? Was it on a site? What can you tell us about that?
We're not exactly sure which social media platform, if that's what it was, where they met. It's a this is a broad category of online exploitation, which includes sextortion, in which a child's being groomed to take sexually explicit images and or ultimately meeting face to face with someone for sexual purposes, or to engage in a sexual conversation, and in some instances to sell the child's sexual images, which is, like I said, is just disgusting.
And Chief, speaking of a child, we're talking about a 15-year-old girl, a local in Riverside who is beloved by the community, the family obviously living there, and the neighbors coming out with an outpouring of support. How is she doing, the 15-year-old girl? How is she doing right now?
From what I understand, it's traumatizing, obviously, and I guess the best that could be possibly expected going through something like this.
She's with her sister, is that right? She has an older sister?
From what I understand, I don't know exactly if she's with a family member or with or somebody else. I'm not particularly sure right now.
Okay, we understand this investigation. Obviously, there's so much to do and so much to uncover. Also, you have to be in contact with law enforcement in Virginia, so this is quite complicated. But let's talk about catfishing for a moment, because this is something that all parents need to have serious conversations with their children about, and just be extra on top of their children to know what they're doing, who they're talking to, and where they're having these conversations.
Yeah, and some of the highlights are, and first of all, we do, at the Riverside Police Department, we have several different links that could help educate both children and parents on internet safety. And so we make sure those are on our websites, our social media platforms and website. But it's, you know, the topics for discussion or the things that happen during these incidents are asking a child for explicit images of themselves or mutually sharing images. They try to develop a rapport with them through compliments or liking their posts, and then sending or offering sexual explicit images of themselves. And in this case, where it looks like where he was actually pretending to be younger than he actually was. Another thing is they could offer gifts, such as a gift card, alcohol, drugs, lodging, transportation, food, things like that. And at the end of all of it, it's just another horrific reminder of the predators that do exist, who prey on our children. And that's why, you know, we said earlier that it's very important to have that conversation over and over again with your kids.
Well, further makes it disturbing is the fact that he's a law enforcement officer.
Yeah, that's just disgusting. And it's hard in the law enforcement community to even accept something like that, but it's a reality. And it's, you know, one thing as a law enforcement officer, we despise them more than anybody. So you're right. It's very difficult to see when something like this happens.
And what are you learning more about the suspect, despite the fact that he's a law enforcement officer? Do you know if he's involved in any other cases, or is there a way to find out?
Certainly, just checking his past, and from what I understand to this point, there's really not a lot of information as far as prior arrests or anything like that. It'd have been very difficult for him to get hired at a police department if he did. So at this point, there's really not a lot of information on the suspect.
As far as the community is concerned, obviously this has really shaken the Riverside community, but really everyone who hears about this story. It just sounds so unreal. We're showing images right now on the left of the grandparents, on the right of the mother who were killed by this suspect. How is the community coping with this, and what is your message to the residents there?
Well, like I said, it's just this time of tremendous grief for that family. I couldn't even imagine what they're going through. Our heart goes out to the Winnick family, excuse me, because it really affects all of us Riversiders. You know, the grandfather was a coach at a local high school. The whole family was involved with our community. So, you know, the message is just that, like I said earlier, is educate your kids on these predators that are out there. And continue to support the family in every way that they need going through this, like I said, this tremendous grief that they're going through.
Yeah, and there's a link on our website if you care to contribute and help the two remaining people in this family out with what they have to go through. You think about just the trauma that they will endure, really, for the rest of their lives. It's obviously just heartbreaking, and around the holidays as well. Chief Gonzalez, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.